It's a very, very interesting area, the leadership of learning as it applies to literacy, and in this particular case as it applies to reading in schools. The literature is very strong in the pointers it gives us to the kinds of actions that principals need to take to lead literacy learning well. And I think that probably the most important of those is the use that we're trying to make of a synthesis from the literature composed as a Leadership for Literacy Learning blueprint that we're using in the Principals as Literacy Leaders project. And Desley spoke initially about teachers understanding the central moral purpose of their work, to assist children to improve their lives through literacy. And we know, of course, in our society it's absolutely critical to strong citizenship and participation and those things. So the moral purpose is a central part of the work of principals, being able to keep that front and centre, not every day, but certainly revisiting the fact that all children need to have a capacity to improve their learning and therefore their achievement in literacy. So the blueprint that we talk about starts from that particular perspective. We also argue that principals need to understand that in order to get some purchase on improving literacy learning for children, it needs to be based on sound evidence. Good quantitative evidence where that evidence is available of what children are achieving, as well as qualitative evidence related to the kind of learning conditions and circumstances that prevail in their lives, in their classrooms, with their peers and so on. So the notion of good quality data and therefore its use in informing what teachers do with their principals is very important. Drilling down to understand where difficulties occur for children who are struggling is the first pathway into getting some effect on improvement. And what we've seen from the literature is that principals need to be able to work through with teachers in a quite disciplined way those kinds of data that are going to inform what they do better in the literacy learning of the young. We call that a process of disciplined dialogue in the blueprint, and there are a range of strategies and questions that principals need to employ in trying to understand the literacy performance, the reading performance, the oral language performance that children are exhibiting. I think also that there are a range of other actions that principals need to take apart from their analytical approach to evidence and their building strategy from evidence with their teachers. And those apply to some important dimensions for the staff of the school. And one of those is clearly the need for active participation in professional learning about the key messages that Desley's put forward, for example, about reading and the Big Six. The members of staff and the principal, him or herself, need to share common understandings of those key messages, common commitments to their pursuit within the school, and those things probably need to be revisited on a reasonably regular basis. Probably there is a need to re-examine the school's approach to literacy learning and learning in reading as new staff take their positions in schools at the beginning of the year, and as schools actually examine their performance as they might apply from standardised tests or they might apply from school evaluations on the way through the year. So active participation in professional development ensures that the principal is linking him or herself to the critical messages that are part and parcel of putting Big Six strategies into place. But that doesn't occur if we go further around the leadership blueprint that I've spoken about. That doesn't occur without concentrating on the conditions of learning, putting appropriate resources together so that teachers can call upon those things, understanding the physical needs of children as they learn, understanding the social responsibilities that go along with that, celebrating successes, helping people struggle through with persistence. Those are very important parts of the conditions of learning that enable those who are working well to actually get enjoyment and fulfilment, those who are struggling to be taken further into the satisfaction of achievement. I might also say that this won't occur under our blueprint without solid attention to curriculum coordination and the monitoring of teaching. And the monitoring of teaching is done by principals with their teachers through a shared approach to leadership, which is another one of the dimensions of our leadership framework. There has to be a shared approach to leadership and monitoring teaching and learning by teachers with their principals, so that there is a concentration on good strategies that are seen not to be working, so that they can be discarded and replaced with other strategies that are known to work, and so on. So a very, very sound attention to good quality curriculum coordination and to the assessment and evaluation of the children's learning and performance feeds into that issue of critical discipline dialogue that I was talking about before. And I've left the toughest one for last on the blueprint. And the toughest one is that in locations where there are youngsters who are having difficulty in reading, where there is strong evidence that the staff members and the principal are working hard on the Big Six, it can't be done without, for a number of those children, a very strong commitment to trying to bring parents and perhaps even other community members, grandparents, other adult models into play in leading learning with children. It is the hardest one. It's still a very difficult one in these kinds of environments in which our principals who are leading literacy learning in our project are concerned. But a range of strategies need to be employed to harness the capacity of the parents, to enhance that capacity of parents to work with the school and their children at home in order to enhance oral learning, to improve and expand vocabulary, because these are a number of the bases, as Leslie's pointed out, which are precursors to those matters of fluency and comprehension, which is the ultimate goal. So for me and for the Principals Leading Literacy Project, that leadership framework provides a broader base from which to bring a number of pressures to bear in the actions that are taken on trying to achieve that moral purpose of improving learning and the lives of children through their literacy acquisition.